tried to get you canceled from the left, and now they're trying to expand that because you've survived it anyway. Do you think that's a part of what's going on?
Well, I think what they're doing, I was thinking about it deeply, and I think the left is really crazy. We know that. And the far right is really crazy too. In fact, they're kind of the same people if you really look at it. They just don't want to hear any opinion other than their own.
Right.
And but the left is right now crazier than anybody on earth has ever been. And I think what they're doing is they're weaponizing stupidity. You know what? They're weaponizing stupidity and mental illness against the vast middle. And I mean, both of these groups have marginalized the vast middle. I don't know how they've been allowed to do that. I guess the media, but they've marginalized the vast middle, the majority. They've marginalized the majority. I just really want people to hear that.
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, weaponizing stupidity. Because at one point, you did have people who were on the right who were mad at you, but do you feel like there's been, let's kind of take off the table the far left, far right, more of an embracement, galvanizing when they've tried to cancel you from people on the right who may be working in Hollywood for a long time? You didn't know they were there and looking for a champion. Did you find that?
Well, I know that when I mangled up the Star Spangled Banner, I was a leftist then too. And people on the right, they really hated me. And I said, I've survived, an attack from the right and an attack from the left. And boy, the right was a lot kinder. I didn't know it at the time, but they accepted my apology, and I was invited back a few times to re-sing the national anthem, and I had to wear adult diapers. I was so scared, but which I wear all the time now, 25 or so years later.
Well, you and
anyway,
our president.
Well, they're so helpful. But anyway, then on the left, these guys, they never accept an apology, and they never stop. They keep coming till they grind their jackboot right in your face into the dirt.
Yeah.
I guess they don't just want you deplatformed, they want you dead. And if you have the gumption to raise your head up bloodied and, the stump of your face bloodied and, totally destroyed, that makes them they get more bloodlust and come at you again. And what really makes me mad is that they would go, they seem never to go after the things I say in interviews or on my podcast now, but they go after my jokes. And that's very interesting because, my one tweet that they killed me for, that was a joke.
Right.
And now this was a bit that I have done on stage. And, I'm a comedian and I'm supposed to wake people up. That's what I'm not one of those, hey, everybody, looky, I'm going to pass some gas.
Of course.
I'm a comic that, tries to make people think.
Right.
So they take my joke, and what they did was they left out the premise.
Right.
The premise was we were not allowed to comment on the election.
Right.
We were not allowed to comment on the fact that people were saying, hey, we saw him pull up a truck full of ballots, that we weren't. No, if you say it, you're going to be taken off the social media.
Yeah.
And people were saying, well, we saw him tape up the windows. We saw him and all of us saw him pull out suitcases. No, you're not to say it.
Yeah, I know. Well, we know that all votes come from a red wagon.
I'm sorry, what?
I was saying we know that all voting precincts typically have Bristol boards on the windows and the votes come in a real red wagon. That's what they do, yeah, and suitcases. But they fact-checked and said it weren't. Yes, they said it weren't suitcases, right? This came from New York Post. No, fact-checked, they weren't suitcases. They were Pelican cases that looked strikingly like suitcases. Well, that solves the problem, asshole. Our concern is that you said a pipe burst at 3 a.m. and we see them pulling cases out with ballots. Let's not care if it's a Samsonite, okay? But that's the issue. It's not an accident. It's a lie. And that's what bothered me so much what happened with. Sometimes people make mistakes. This guy who circulated it, he's on my shit dar, just to be clear. He knew when he put it out, he knew it was a lie. So this was taken from 2 weeks ago, and they removed it. It's not an accident, and I think people need to understand the difference. And, provide no quarter to those folks because they won't stop until you're gone.
Yeah, he removed the premise of my joke. So I say that's like taking Henny Youngman's joke, "Take my wife, please," and going, "This guy's trying to traffic his wife."
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. Like he's Coney.
Because they have no sense of humor and they are terrified of humor. They're terrified of jokes and humor because humor is taking, all of us comedians know this, or maybe, we sit around and talk about this all the time when we're drunk, which is all the time. But no, you take two disparate ideas and you hook them together.
Right.
Comedy is about putting the severed pieces together, as Virginia Woolf wrote about writing.
Yeah.
You take two disparate ideas, you put them together, create a new picture that makes people, it defamiliarizes reality, and people get a new view of things. They go, "I never thought of it that way." That's what it's for.
Right. That's exactly what it's for.
They can't hold two disparate ideas in their tiny little pea brain dinosaur head. They can't do that because they have no humor. And what does humor come from? It comes from love. Let's be real. That's why we're comics, even though we're all messed up and neurotic and crazy because we're Jews, basically, or other ethnic minorities. We're crazy because we had to live through this shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, excuse me for swearing.
No, I don't care. You can say whatever you want.
Assholes.
I'm not Jewish, but I'm French.
Good.
I'm French Canadian, so I do have an overbearing mother, so it's close enough.
It's the same thing.
It is.
It's all about the overbearing mother. And I'll tell you what, Stephen, I do my best to be one. I live with my son, his wife, and their daughter. I do my best to be an overbearing mother. And that's where I went to television, because overbearing mothers is what we need in this country, for God's sake. And I am damn sick and tired of listening to these people who don't even know what a woman, they don't even know what is a woman, what is a man. They're not going to dissect my jokes.
That's very important, right? First off, that's your reward in life, to be an overbearing mother. You should enjoy it. Nothing will be more satisfying than for me to bust the chops of my kid when I'm old enough and have him like, "Change my depends, okay? You came out of me. This is what happens. It's the circle of life." The other issue there is, yes, they used to say, they'll come after you, Roseanne. They did this with me a long time ago. They would say, "Well, you're not really a comedian now. She's just a commentator." They'll come after you and say, "She's not funny." In other words, once they've tried to assassinate your character, they'll just try and say, "You're not funny." Here's the issue. For a long time, as someone who's always been, right-leaning and conservative, the right had a problem with being funny, with humor, because they couldn't necessarily acknowledge reality, right? They would have to be always clean, and it would remove that edge. The left today is incapable of humor because they can't even agree on what reality is. If you can't make fun of a drag queen story hour at a public library, there is no group that wouldn't be considered so marginalized that you can't make a joke about it. That's why the left can't do comedy, and they're afraid of you.
They're afraid of people thinking. They really are. And they just read crap off scripts anyway. None of them even believes that stuff. They all know it's a lie. They've read it off a script and they're just parroting it because people are paid to be parrots. It's all about that soundbite, and they'll do anything for it. Acting is like that. Some people, who had principles a long time ago refused to play a role. I'm thinking of a lot of black actors. They said, "I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to wear the dress," for instance.
Right.
Well, there's 10 million people behind them that will.
Right.
So whoever will step up to do it, that's who gets the job. Those are not people that we should be looking to for any kind of social context about anything. I mean, it is really, really a dangerous time we're living in. And, it just makes me so mad, because the point of what I was saying is that if you will swallow one big lie, it's not that far to swallowing the big lie of Adolf Hitler. It ain't that far. Right. And this is the big lie in America. The 2020 election is the big lie. And it isn't that, if you're going to swallow that and buckle under to it and say that the American people have no right to cast a vote that's counted fairly. I mean,
not only that, you're not allowed to report on it. For example, that was why we were suspended that night. We had about 17 something million people tune in. We covered it the whole night. We covered it as it was happening live. So they couldn't ban that, right? They couldn't ban it as a conspiracy because we were saying, hold on a second, we have someone in Detroit. These votes are coming in. Wait, hold on. What's happening here in Georgia? And then when we actually started sending people from this office to addresses where people voted that didn't exist, and I mean an empty street, vote. We would show the voter rolls. Right. We would send them to a public park, voter roll. Those videos got removed really quickly. Hey, guys, could you go get my Norm poster that's in my office, someone from the control room, because it kind of ties in with this, a quote that I have from him. And I wanted to, obviously, you worked closely with him for a long time.
I loved him so much.
Yeah, he was our white whale here when he was sick. He was supposed to come on the show, and we didn't know at the time that he was sick, and he kind of would disappear. Yeah, he was huge influence on what we did here. And I have a quote between him and Larry King doing exactly what you did, but about being a gay man. And I want to bring it up. But and to be clear, you just said if you swallow the big lie from Adolf Hitler, who you love, right? Just so we're all clear here. Big fan of Hitler.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of all the Rothschilds.
Well, that's where we disagree. I'm more of a Pol Pot guy. I do want to make
Pol Pot, that he is. I said yesterday he's the idol of the left because they just want to destroy and kill and deplatform and murder. But he killed people who wore glasses because they could read.
I know.
Which is how the left loves it.
Yeah, they said, they look shifty, they look intelligent, and then who knew that all of these people moved out from cities couldn't farm? Yeah, we actually have a dictator off where we have different brackets that we're doing here this year. We have Hitler and we have Mussolini and we have Pol Pot and we have Mao and we have Pinochet and we see who was the worst. Surprise, they're all leftists. This is one thing I wanted to ask you before I go to
Don't
the norm.
forget Stalin.
Oh, yes,
Stalin
sorry.
and
The
Hitler,
worst.
the Stalin-Hitler pact, which everybody always wants to forget about, but they actually had a contest to see who could kill the most Jews. And you know what? The lessons of the Holocaust, I just want to say this too, is that we must not repeat history.
Right.
And when we're being fed a lie as citizens, it is our right and our duty to come against that. We must not allow it.
Right. I think that is pivotal. And the media, entertainment industry, and government industrial complex, right? They all work together. And I mean that because you see the
Look
White
what
House.
they did to us, Stephen. Look what they brought to us so that we could not go out and vote, Stephen.
Right.
And everybody's removing that. Look what they did to our families so that we had to stay home and put ballots that were not fairly counted. Look what they did to us.
Yep.
It's not an accident. And the whole time, all those media people who come after me because I love the people I grew up with and I love the working people of America. I put my whole life on the line to go in the lion's den like Daniel. I'm a religious Jew, okay? Like Daniel, I knew I was doing it too.
Right.
But like there was a fourth guy in there in the fire with me the whole time, and I always felt that. But they would be so mad at me because they said, nobody's going to like this show. I go, yeah, because why? Because I'm not making them look stupid like you've done for generations. I want to show the working people of America of all colors, of all class, of all everything as heroic. And, because I love them and I know what's in their hearts.
Right.
I'm not going to let you make them look stupid, and I'll have a bigger audience than you've ever had. And I proved it twice. I did. Yeah. Because I have respect for them. I like to uplift, not denigrate. So F them.
Yeah, well, I like a little bit of both, but that was a funny visual. I was just picturing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Like, there's a fourth. Is that Roseanne fucking Barr? What is she doing in the fire? Get her the hell out of there. By the way, it's the Roseanne Barr podcast.
Well, that was God.
Yes.
And you know what? God wins. They're not going to win. You know how the left, everything they touch turned to shit. Like, I was all mad because, did you know YouTube said if you don't support the war in wherever it is, Ukraine, they're not going to monetize you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been demonetized. We've been demonetized for about 5-6 years now. So it didn't. But yes. Yeah, I know.
Well, I was just starting and I'm like, well, how can I be for the war in Ukraine? That's where they killed my whole family, was in the Ukraine, when the Nazis went in there. I can't be for the Nazis in the Ukraine. And I called my rabbi. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm trying to make some money since they fired me off my other goddamn job. So I'm like, I'm trying to make some money. I support 25 lazy Jewish people in this family. Right. Don't tell me I don't like Jews.
Yeah.
But anyway, So there I am. And you know what? My rabbi said it was so great. He said, Roseanne, think about it. Everything the left touch turns to shit. So what do they got? They got a Jew, Zelensky, and he's destroying the Nazi state of the Ukraine. Yeah. I go, you're right. Isn't that great? I'm all for that war now.
It is irony, and I think, by the way, it's the Roseanne Barr podcast every Thursday at roseannebarr.com for people watching. We're going to continue to Mug Club really quickly. I think the lesson there from Roseanne Barr is, hey, not all stereotypes are true. Jews can be lazy too. We'll stay here more with Roseanne Barr in just 15 seconds. Click subscribe, Mug Club. Okay, thank you, Rumble.